Hey guys, and welcome to CMJ Live. And I don't know if you've been watching our advertising or what's going on today. You have a full day of shows. We're doing a marathon. So that means all of our shows that are on MyTCN TV is going back to back, back to back to back to back. Meaning we have so many shows that we took all of our MCs, all of our hosts, all of our TV shows, and we're putting them back to back to back. And why we're doing that? Because we're here to raise funds. We want to understand, donate. So we're doing a marathon. So right after my show is Alyssa's show, but then what we have is we added all the shows that you see on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, all back to back today. So stay tuned. Let people know it is a full hour. We start now. We'll finish about what, 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock this evening. So don't go nowhere. But right now, I'm starting it off with CMJ Live, and I'm happy to introduce my guest. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Anthea Van Der Pluym.
All right. So I was actually introduced to you by a very good friend who was on the show.
Yeah.
And she told me, she sent the message, and she says, you two need to hook up. You need to get her on your show, and she needs to be on your show. We need to get together. And I said, okay. And then I called you, and in the story you told me, I thought, yes,
okay,
you need to be on my show. But let's go back. Let's get some background. Where were you born?
I was born in South Africa.
Okay.
So a little town called Durban. Well, not so little anymore, but on the sea,
Yeah.
the ocean. And I currently I've come from a town called Hermanus in the Western Cape, which is the whale capital of the world.
Okay.
So we get to watch the whales over there, and generally just
Just
play
finding
tourists.
Just finding Nemo.
11 months of the year. We kind of believe that we're all tourists as well.
So did you leave South Africa and come straight to Canada?
So yes, I've been in Canada a whole month, loving
Okay.
it. But only a month.
Just a month.
Yeah, and I'm here doing public speaking, coaching, pretty much what I've been doing. I spent some time in Saudi Arabia, and I do a lot of work, obviously, in South Africa. So between it all, Canada's now the next stop.
Right.
And here we are.
Okay,
so very
so-
happy to be on your radio station and television show.
Great.
Yeah.
So you're new, like brand new to.
I'm brand new.
Okay.
Yes.
So what do
So
you?
be kind. That's all I ask.
So what's the difference so far that you've seen?
I love the openness.
Okay.
Culturally, you're a very open country.
Right.
I'm loving all the multicultural influences. I mean, the food is just wonderful. Seeing all these different the restaurants and so on all lined up next to each other.
Yeah.
Weather's fantastic. I'm thoroughly enjoying the fall colors. Never seen it before.
Right.
I'm warned that a white Christmas is quite an interesting experience. But I must say I'm loving it so far. People are very friendly. It's great.
And you're ready for the cold.
No, not at all. I have no idea what's coming.
All right. Well, welcome.
Thank
and
you.
welcome. I'm happy to be you on my show as your first interview for your speaking engagement, because it is powerful.
Thank you.
What we talked about is powerful. So let's just dive right in it so people can understand why you're here. So when we first talked, tell us about what happened to you, your situation.
Okay, so I come from a country where violence is, can we say, a norm? As it is in many countries, I think, today. It's
Right.
not only one country. But 3 years ago, I was attacked in my own home, and I had petrol thrown on me, and I was set on fire. So you can imagine that's quite something to have to contend with. And I really had to react to save my own life. Managed to get into the shower, douse the flames through all manner of means. And when I came out of the bathroom, of course I was pretty damaged. He was still waiting, and he hit me over the head with a hammer 14 times. So that pretty much took me out of the equation, and I found myself in intensive care for nearly a week, 6 weeks in hospital having grafts. I don't know if you've ever had a burn.
Yeah.
But I lost 35% of my body to fire, my skin. So it was multiple skin grafts and, a lot of medical intervention. And it took me around about 2 years to rehabilitate in terms of getting function back and emotionally and psychologically and all
Right.
that. So an enormous event to go through.
Right, because I don't know if the camera can picture. So your hands, your chest.
My chest, all of my back, my head, lost a whole portion of my ear, lost the function of my hand and 3 fingers, lost the function of my mouth, couldn't turn my neck. There were a whole bunch of things. So,
Right.
fire tends to restrict the tendon. If you imagine cooking chicken, I know it's a very horrible way of but everything tightens.
Yeah.
And your body does the same thing. So it all becomes very restrictive. And obviously you've got to, with occupational therapy, stretch
Right.
everything back out again. And that takes some time.
Right, and then not just to go through that part. When you think that one part's over, the person's out there and then hits you 14 times with a hammer.
Yeah, so my head was a bit of a cobbled road. It still is.
Okay.
We have some things we can do to try and flatten it, but yeah, it was a very, very tough time of my life. And in fact, it was for me a game changer.
Right.
I've been exposed to violence before. I've lost my father in a theft, and we've had various things, but this one was for me the event that kind of changed my perspective on violence. This wasn't just an event that you kind of get past and say, well, you know what, bad times happen, and it's just kind of man up about it and get on with our lives.
Right.
This was the one that said, look, if we don't do something radically about how we think about violence and how we're exposed to it as a society and as a community, we're in for a pretty tough time.
Yes.
So having been through it, not wanting to sound arrogant or anything, seriously, nobody needs to go there.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was the reason? Like, well,
Angry.
he was just angry.
He was angry. And I think for a lot of people, they get angry and they lash out and they do something, and that event and the way that you lash out has a repercussion that you probably didn't think through at the time.
Exactly.
And that repercussion will put you in jail or, do various things to you. And to me, my event is very extreme, but it's very similar to so many other people's.
Right.
It starts with, well, I don't like you for whatever reason, and some kind of verbal altercation of some kind happens, and then it progresses, and if one can't stop the escalation, at some point the thing triggers.
Right.
And then when it triggers, it's a question of, well, who comes out on the other side.
When to know to let it go, when to stop.
Yeah.
Like, how is it really that bad? Sometimes when you think about it, you're like, you're arguing over something and you get in such a heated argument, then you realize, was it that bad?
Possibly better to have let it go.
To let it go, because the situation afterwards, when you're sitting in jail, you're thinking about, okay, he cut me off.
So 15 years in jail.
Yeah.
Because that's what an attempted murder court case resulted in. So 15 years of your life gone, 3 years of mine.
Right.
With all of the ramification, physically, financially, in terms of your work is interrupted.
Yes.
I mean, I couldn't work for 6 months. It's
Okay.
just physically impossible to
Yeah.
to functionally operate. And
Right.
then you've got the emotional side, the family side, the community side. And, when you look at it, you say to yourself, seriously, there must be alternative ways to manage anger than simply doing the thing that on the moment you felt like doing.
Right.
And I think that's really where we are in society. I mean, I'm looking, and, I hear the media and I get exposed to a lot of things. And obviously coming out of South Africa, I've done a lot of public speaking on this topic and interacted with a lot of people who've lost family members or been
Right.
assaulted or raped. Or, we did a lot of work with the police, we did a lot of work with schools. And the issues of, drugs and addiction and all this comes into the play as well. But for me, the challenge now is, how do we change the way we think?
Okay.
And how do we change the way we interact?
And is it more of how do we change the way we think, or think in emotional?
It's think, because when you feel threatened, that's an instinctive thing.
Okay.
So I look at you and I go, well, maybe he'll hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
The emotion comes behind that, the fear.
Okay.
Okay. But I've something has triggered my emotion. Some
Right.
thought has passed in my head. And this is where it gets so difficult, because unless we learn, psychologists will tell you quite carefully that you either have a fight or a flight. These are your two primal kind of things. We don't like something, well, we go and deal with it.
Right.
Or we're too terrified to deal with it, we cut and run.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of them is actually the solution.
Right. There's no middle. It's either we run and hide, or we fight.
Yeah.
Right.
And neither of them works,
Okay.
because ultimately they leave you as a victim. So even the person who's fighting and doing the thing
Yeah.
is under the compulsion of whatever that is that's happening to them, and will have a consequence.
Okay, because we were talking about this at work the other day, that sometimes a bully or somebody that's doing something, we don't know what's happening to them.
Exactly.
So they could be at home getting beat up or
Exactly.
something worse. So when
Exactly.
it's translating out and they're trying to release it to somebody else.
And they don't know how to do it in a safe way.
Right.
So all that emotion is building up. Possibly their role models are a bit lacking. Could we use that term? But
Right.
at the end of the day, they're disconnected. They have this emotion, and they're acting out on it. And whoever's in their way is obviously going to become
Right.
a punch bag.
But then I like what you're saying, though, that even the person that ran away is also a victim. And
The person who runs away is as much a victim, because if you toss it under the carpet and you put the carpet down nice and neatly,
yeah,
you're going to sit for 18, 20, 30 years of your life bitter and twisted.
yeah,
Because this thing's
Scared
happened
and
to
what
you.
happened, and you're always
Trapped
feeling
in
like-
your own negative emotion.
right.
And you get to the end of your life and you realize that at some point you had to let this thing
Let it
pass
go.
to actually get on with life.
Okay.
So I think for me, I have a very big role to play today. You know, this is not what I always did. I've sort of done this part-time, but I had a business background. I come out of corporates like Siemens and, financial services and companies. I got a master's business background. But by virtue of these life circumstances, I find that this is becoming
Yeah.
my need.
Yeah.
I'm vocal, I'm educated, I can talk, I'm white.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
Yeah.
We're not talking about somebody who came up on the wrong side of town.
Mm-hmm.
But we're equally all exposed. And unless we understand how to manage what we're dealing with,
Right.
we're all equally at threat.
Okay.
And so I'm really just in a, for lack of a better term, a peacekeeping space where I'm going, come on, guys, there's different ways to deal
Right.
with how
So
we're
let's,
feeling.
so let's do it this way, because we're going to take a quick break, but I want to come back after the break and know what our title is. And we titled this Treasure Your
The
Scars.
Scars.
And
Yeah.
that is a phenomenal title to do it.
Okay.
How you're treasuring your scars. We'll be right back. Hey guys, and we're back. And before we went to break, the title is it's about the scars. And when we talked about that, I'm thinking, how can you treasure your scars?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, when I was,
So you have a few.
I got a few, and it's back in the days, and I hide it. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay. And people ask what happened, and I hide my hand because I got my hand
got
exactly.
quite a few.
I got my hand caught in a
Show
rolling
them off.
machine at work. But then you're like, no, these things define who you are. They kind of give a story. So tell us why you say treasure the scars.
Okay, so when I first came out of intensive care,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have words for what I'd experienced. I mean, I wasn't a movie scene. I was real life burning up. And it's very difficult to describe to somebody what you physically and mentally go through when you realize that you're burning alive.
Right.
On top of that, the pain of the blows, the fact that it was a person that I knew, and that humanity could do the kinds of wrong to each other that they had. So I didn't have words for that. I couldn't contextualize where I was. I couldn't contextualize what I was going through. And if anybody asked me to describe it, there wasn't any way I was going to be able to describe it. I couldn't even describe it to myself.
Right.
So I had a lady step up who was an art teacher, and she said to me, I will help you learn to paint. And at that stage, you know, I won prizes for drawing the worst stick man, so I wasn't much of an artist.
Right.
But when she put all the colors down in front of me, there was just something happened there.
Okay.
I could use color
To describe your
to
feeling.
describe
Yes.
to myself more or
Okay.
less what I was going through. And at that stage, you know, it sounds like I was awfully on touch with everything. No.
Right.
You weren't. You simply were numb with emotion, numb with what you were going through, and you picked up a paintbrush and some color and you slapped it on a canvas. But it helped. And there was a concept that she came up with, and she taught me at the time, which has really become my life's philosophy.
Okay.
And that was a Japanese philosophy called kintsugi.
Okay.
So kintsugi says that basically if you have I'm going to see if I can get this in the camera.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have a vase or a vessel of some kind,
Right.
and you drop it, and it smashes onto the floor, and obviously it's all in pieces.
Right.
Here in Western society, we'd kind of pick that all up, put it in the bin, and chuck it away, and say, well, you know, unfortunate.
Right.
And head off to Home Sense and go and
Go
replace it
buy
with
another
something
one.
else.
Right.
The Japanese don't do that. So what
Okay.
they do is they painstakingly put it all back together again, and then they take resin and they glue it piece for piece for piece until you've got this vase back again. But of course now it has all
The cracks
these
and things.
cracks.
Yeah.
So what they then do is they take gold and they gild every single crack, and they highlight that vessel, and then they take that vessel when they're done, which is now strongest at the cracks because of the resin and the gold, and they put it back into functional use in the home, but now as a treasured vehicle. So if you go to a tea ceremony, for instance, they'll fetch out the old teapot that's been in the family for
generations,
400 years,
yeah.
and you'll note that
There's
it has a crack with the gold, and this is kintsugi. So it's saying whatever is broken is not something to be discarded, but it's the crack that makes you strong.
Makes it powerful.
That makes it powerful.
Right.
So instead of us turning away from it, we turn toward it, and we begin to highlight it, and we take this thing that would have effectively damaged and destroyed us, and we turn this into the greatest part of our lives.
Because in our society, and I love that you use that analogy, because we tend to think it's broken, throw it away.
Toss it.
Toss it. We don't think it's broken. How can we fix
treasure
it first, and then treasure it and see how we can work?
Exactly.
And our things, it's broken, just get rid of it, go get another one.
Yeah.
We don't take the time to see what we can do with it, what we can do. We just go out and just try to get another one.
So let's take the concept of violence. So we come along, and for lack of a better term, I do something to you, okay? If you're at all normal, that event that happened to you is going to traumatize you.
Yes.
That is a normal reaction. What we've transferred as PTSD and called a disorder is actually quite an order, if you really think about it.
Right.
Because post-traumatic stress is a natural reaction to horror, to anything hard and horrible that we experience. So kintsugi then comes back and says, okay, so here you are, a human being. You've gone through this terrible thing, and you've reacted very badly to it because it's not normal. Okay, it's not normal. This is not supposed to be what happened in your world. But instead of us now tossing you aside and saying, oh, well, shame on you, you can't cope.
Right.
We now say, your emotion, your experience that you're going through is the very thing that makes you human. It's the very thing that defines you as a person.
Right.
So I see you doing the relief fund, and I'm quite glad to see that, because let me make it practical. you see all these terrible things happen in the hurricanes, and what's the first thing that happens after that? You see human beings letting go of all of their prejudices, letting go of all of their natural inclination to kind of stick it to one another, and rushing out there to rescue and help
each other.
Right. Okay? And show this humanity component of themselves. So, going back to Kintsugi, your emotion is your human side. It's the thing that distinguishes you from the guy that doesn't feel it and will inflict the damage.
Right.
So you were saying to me, well, you know, in Jamaica, we prefer vengeance. You know, this is a far better option to...
We'll get angry, and then it takes a while, and then, you know what I mean, like we get angry, right?
Yeah. So this is where we come back to it, and we say, well, what is the correct response? So let me turn it back to me, because then that way I don't offend anybody. My options were quite simple. I could become very angry. I mean, as in really nasty angry. Think about the limits of what kind of angry I could become, and I would be justified.
Right.
I could become incredibly bitter and twisted and messed up in my thinking about what people are and what they should be and so on. I could become an addict myself and just go and lose myself in a corner somewhere and say, you know, I can't deal with reality. These are all functional choices that I have to make at the time when I'm choosing I will or won't recover.
Right.
And you don't make them in a lovely, sane room thinking, oh, well, choice A, B, or C. You're besieged by emotion, and you're besieged by all these things. And in that point, you have to decide, I'm going to hurt and be human, or I'm going to shut off from that emotion and I'm going to be hard.
Okay.
And if I'm hard, the escalation starts.
It starts up.
If I allow myself to be vulnerable and allow myself to be hurt, I embrace my own humanity and I actually save myself.
Right then, but then the question is, like, okay, like we're saying we're using, you know, our cultures and stuff. We have a tendency to, if we didn't have a father figure in our lives, or, you know, where we grew up. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain eras of around the world, if it's the Caribbean, here, it's a tough era we grew up.
Yeah.
How do we change that feeling? Because every day I grew up, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
Every day I'm living in an area where you do me wrong, you know, I have to do you wrong. He did this to me, so I have to do this to them. We have this retaliation of vengeance. Or
and the brother code that says, you know what, if he hurt you, so you know what, we got him. Don't you worry, it's all good.
Exactly. You know, I call my friends up and say, okay, this is what happened, and we just lock them off.
Yeah.
Right? Where is that point that we say, how bad is it to let it go? And how bad is it to forgive? Because all of my guests, when they come in, just like yourself, is you guys have this knack. I don't know if it's because it happened to you, but then does something have to happen to us first before we can say,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
I would say normally people don't do anything until it's too late. Okay. I read a very interesting thing on the television this morning. Your musician who's just died, brain cancer. They were talking about the Cancer Relief Fund has received more donations post his death.
Right.
It's like an event comes along and triggers an action, and triggers a sense of responsibility, and triggers a need. So, yes, in my case, previously I have experienced violence. I never got to the level of awareness or understanding or emotional depth previously than I did now. Now I had no choice. This thing was going to kill me, or I was going to get past it. And I had a choice, and I had to say, well, I'm going to let this thing make me bitter and twisted for the rest of my life, or I'm not. I'm choosing to live. I'm choosing to actually take back my quality of life. And this is, I think, where for those who haven't had a role model and a figure and that kind of level of emotional help is the important thing, because you have to decide whether you're going to give your life over to a cycle of retribution, which be an ordinary history student and go and show me one war that didn't cycle on for generation and generation. I mean, the IRA, the Arab-American conflict. I mean, you can name the wars. I hurt you, so you hurt somebody in my family, so I hurt somebody in your family, you hurt my dog hurts your cat. You know, we cycle this thing up all the time. And at some point, the pain is too high and too much, and sanity intervenes. And for me, this is really where we are now, is to say, how do we get people to slow down before they get there?
Right. Because, like you're saying, and I'm thinking about it, and it's true, like anything that happens, we wait till it happens first.
And then we react.
And then we dive into our pockets and we say, okay, here it is.
Yes.
So if you really think about it, there's a lot of countries out there that were asking for donations to help out because A, B, and C. And no one's like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do it. But then when
it happens to you,
a crisis happens,
it's
or something
relevant.
happens, then it's relevant. And then we just give, and give.
Yeah.
Is it just the emotion of us that does it that way? Like, for example, you'll see people on the street, right? Now, if I see a homeless person, I just have a tendency, I just give.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I go to McDonald's and I get the 2-for-1 hamburger, I eat one and I give one.
Yeah.
But then I always realize around the Christmas time,
yes,
I see a lot more people helping the homeless, giving more. Is it because it's that, it's the Christmas feeling and we all got to come together, it's Christmas, that's when we decide to give? Like, for me, it's like you're saying, why isn't our mentally, psychically saying this should be a year-round kind of thing, not when it's Thanksgiving, Easter, those certain places?
I think events trigger stuff, and they obviously trigger emotions, and obviously there's discussions and stuff that the priest, saying something to you, or the levels of guilt, or the levels of, what gratefulness that it hasn't happened to me.
Yeah.
There's any level of emotion that could do this. I mean, I can't speak for other people, but I do know that from where we're sitting with the No Harm initiative, where we're saying, if you had to get a lovely picture in your head, the Pied Piper, we all know the Pied Piper story, hey?
Yeah.
So he plays the flute, and all the rats and mice go rushing out, and they follow the Pied Piper, and he leads them over the cliff, and they'll perish.
Yeah.
At no point do we imagine that the rat and the mouse is able to pick a different route and go somewhere else. It's like it's a foregone conclusion.
We're just followers.
Yeah.
So let's do this. When we get back from commercial, I want to talk about how we are followers, and then I want to talk about your event and
how
your program, how we break away from doing
violence.
The norm. Exactly.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Okay, good.
Discover the incredible India.
Hey guys, and welcome back to CMJ Live, the marathon. And do remember, it's back-to-back-to-back shows, and we're having a great time talking behind the scenes. If you want to know behind the scenes, go to our Twitter page. You see the ins and outs, what we're talking about before we come on. So before we move on, please reintroduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Anthea Van Der Pluym, and I'm here in Canada 1 whole month.
There you go. So she's a newbie, everybody, so welcome. And we were just talking about your life story, the things you've gone through. And then before we went to break, you were talking about the Pied Piper.
Yes.
And it was funny, like, we were joking around, like I said off the air, like if we're in a bunch of group, and one person jumps up and runs,
everybody
gets up and runs.
Don't know why, but we're just doing it.
We just do it. We do the following thing.
Yeah.
And that's like you're saying. So with your event coming up and what you do, how do we steer away from that? And what I like about it is I kind of want to add to that, I don't know if it is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, peer pressure.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what you're saying is, you have a group of people doing it as teens get older. You know what I mean? They might go do something that's not really the smartest thing, but because everyone else is doing it, they feel that they're pressured that they have to do it. Even though part of them, like you said, the psyche knows, I think this is kind of wrong, but
I'm still going to go with it because I want them to like me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think for me, there's two trains of thought. One, we're either going to condone violence.
Okay.
We're either going to say violence is fine. So you really hurt me, it's quite okay if I hurt you back.
Okay.
Right? And in society today, we are conditioned to believe that is true. So if you look at our movies, I mean, I only have to look at things like, Fast and Furious and a few others of them.
Yeah.
The brotherhood of sticking it in there to make sure that somebody else didn't get hurt is kind of a culture that we are promoting as being really great. We accommodate violence. We accommodate it in our silences in domestic abuse situations. We accommodate it in the crime and not getting a grip on it. We accommodate it in the workplace, verbal abuse, road rage, desk rage, phone rage. I mean, we even have terms for this, going postal, because we just can't deal with what's happening.
Right.
Violence, and it's such a hard word to say it, but is actually already in the fabric of our society. It's right there and it's staying there. Unless you choose, like me, to say, sorry, I've given enough of my time to violence.
Right.
And I'm not doing it anymore. So we've taken the term no harm and said hashtag no harm, because obviously everything is marketing.
Yeah.
But no harm is I don't do any harm to myself.
Right.
First.
Okay.
Very important point. I'm not going to do an action that is going to hurt me. Why? Because I matter.
Okay.
I value.
Right.
Okay.
And when you're saying action, it doesn't mean action in physical. It could be physical, mental,
whatever.
Okay.
So is this thing that I'm about to do gonna hurt me, yes or no?
Okay.
If it's gonna hurt me,
get it out.
boring as hell,
Yeah.
I turn away from it and I go, you know what?
That's it.
Someone else's adventure,
Okay.
not mine. And then the other one is it gonna hurt somebody else?
Right.
And if it's gonna hurt somebody else, morality kicks in, whether you like it or not. And you're going to have to go across your conscience or not, depending on how you work with this. So no harm is basically saying, let's take people who saying, we have children, we're living in a community, we're living in a society, and if we imagine that the cycle of violence will just continue to escalate in our communities and our cities and so on, we're sane enough and rational enough to say, listen, when we're 20 years older than this, we don't want to be dealing with this.
Okay.
So let's make a different choice. If we go back to the Pied Piper analogy, we're all the rats and mice.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been driven along saying, you know what, violence is a no-brainer. This is life. This is the way it is. We're going to deal with terrorism for the rest of our lives. We're going to deal with crime. We're going to deal with abuse.
Yeah.
No chance, ladies and gents. And we're all just racing along. And 2 or 3 mice say, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. There's a pub around the corner, and I'd rather do a
bear off.
sharp left right now, or sharp right, whichever one it is, woman's left, and I'm off, and I'm going in a different direction.
Right.
Now here's the thing: do you need an event as big as mine to trigger the same thinking?
Okay.
Or are you sane, responsible, and sober enough? And I
Right.
use those terms.
Yeah.
To say, listen, it's a no-brainer.
If I do this.
If I do violence,
Yeah.
what is the end result?
Yeah.
And if I don't do any harm, what is the end result?
Right.
And me, I'm choosing that one.
And then the thing about it is, I turn it back to, like I always tell my son every time he goes out to school, I tell him, be a leader,
Yes.
not a follower.
Yes.
Because people don't understand, even though the majority of, using Pied Piper, the majority of the rats and mice are going this way, the 1 or 2 that turn, maybe a couple at the back
Turn.
might say, well, where are those 2 going?
Looks like more fun.
Let me go check this
There's
out.
some
too.
horrendous screams coming off the edge of the cliff over there. We don't feel like going there.
It feels kind of wrong going over the cliff. Let me see where these 2 are
Yeah,
going
exactly.
and maybe be a different route.
Exactly. And I think that's exactly what we have the opportunity to do. And I think the youth I mean, for a lot of young people, I say, well, what do you believe in?
Right.
What do you really believe in?
Yeah.
Tell me what you believe in. Do you believe in like just kind of going through the motions the rest of your life? Do you believe in, you know what, hurting one another because look, this is everybody's position and so we're all in this space? Or kind of, do you believe in your future? And can you make a difference in that? And if you can make a difference in that, it's fairly simple for you to decide what that is. Do I do any harm to myself? Do I do any harm to another? No. You're pretty okay on that route. You know, karma and dharma, you know those ones, eh?
Yeah. So then here's the first thing. People are watching this and thinking, okay, this lady's brave. She's phenomenal. Every day she wakes up, she's reminded.
Yeah.
Right? Because
well, I look in the mirror.
Right.
So I've got some scars that say to me, this is the end result of violence.
Right.
This is the end result of not dealing with it. And I don't do that as a negative. I'm now wearing this, it's my badge of honor.
Right.
Okay, and I'm 50 next year, okay? So what's my legacy, all right?
Yeah.
What's my legacy? Am I just going to go through the rest of my life saying, you know what, I held down a career, made some money, had my house, had my car, the dog, the cats.
Yeah.
Great stuff. But I didn't do anything in my society, in my community.
To help the next level, to put a name there, to say one person that they can come to you and say, I've had the same thing done to me.
Yes.
But what you've gone through is taking me to the next level.
Yes. So now there's we have this Me Too campaign running. I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook and so on. Where anybody has been subjected to sexual abuse, just put up on your FB Me Too. And I go, well, my first thought is total empathy, okay? So I say, well, wow, that's pretty rough to have been and gone through. So you have my empathy. But my very next question to the ladies is, so what are we doing to make sure that tomorrow it's not happening again? And tomorrow you don't say to me, me too.
Okay.
Tomorrow you say, not me too. Because that's really where we are now. Am I saying that in the next 5 years I will experience another event? Absolutely not. I'm making choices now that take me in a different direction. And this is what I'm advocating. Is I'm saying if you are sane and responsible, start to take the decisions that allow you to walk away from violence. As a form in the workplace, whether it's the abusive boss in the school or whether it's the bullying student or whoever it might be, whether it's in your home life where you want to kick the dog or your wife, don't. You need to learn how to get your emotions through without doing damage to yourself or anyone else.
Okay, so then here's a quick question before we go to break. Do you do any mentally?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what everybody I know, and I had another guest, and I keep repeating the same guest because I love it. She wakes up in the morning, she looks in front of the mirror and says, "You're the best," and she hugs herself.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
I totally into it, telling her she's the best. What do you do? Because it can't be like people are saying, well, she says she's got the scar, she sees it every day, she can go out there, but there's got to be some flashbacks. There got to be something
there's all of that. You are never going to go through life untouched by this event.
Okay.
The key is that you're going to be hugely touched. The key is having the courage to be hugely touched.
Okay.
It's the opposite. I'm not saying, well, here's the event, and I kind of look at it like a random observer.
Right.
No, you're in the wave that dumped you and made a groove with you up the beach. That's the experience that you're going through.
Right.
The challenge is that you as a person need to be able to have the strength to go through those emotions. Get the professional, the medical, the psychological help you need, but learn to work through those emotions. And at the end of all of that, there is a thing called value.
Okay.
And this is the difference between the person who suicides and the person that stands up. The one believes they matter to themselves first and to others, and the other doesn't.
Okay.
And this is where the big risk of this whole thing comes in, is have you got what it takes inside yourself to find your own value?
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, before we go, we want to just push your event, where we can get a hold of you. Okay. And then I want you to give 2 advice to somebody.
Okay.
Little things that you do that is the mental, so people can think about when we come back. All right? We'll be right back.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back to the marathon. I like saying that, because on the first show, we're having a marathon. My TCN TV. That's what we're doing. We're having back-to-back shows, and we're doing this because we want you to know what's going on. You see the number there. Don't forget to go to our gofund.com/care101, all right? A coffee. If you got to sacrifice a coffee at lunch, throw it in. If you got to sacrifice some Timmy's, some McDonald's, we want you to lose weight, so don't worry about the fast foods for one day. Support, because they need it. And you've been doing a fantastic job by coming in, dropping off your donations. We thank you so much for that. You've been coming in, giving us canned foods and clothing and little stuff that we don't think about. So we thank you so much for all of our viewers for coming in. We really, really appreciate it, okay? We're here with my special guest. Before we go, please introduce yourself one more time.
Hi, my name is Anthea Van Der Pluym, and I'm here in Canada for 1 month.
I think she likes, after I always ask her to say her name, she likes saying that.
I love saying
that one part. I've been in Canada for 1 month, and it's fantastic. All right, so before we went to break, I wanted to pick your brain about when you wake up, how do you go to the next thing? We talked about, giving somebody that one message.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're seeing you and they might have got burnt, or it might have been a fire from the house. It didn't have to be violence. It could have been an accident, a car crash, or anything. And they're walking around. It might not be as severe as yours, but every day they wear long sleeves.
Yes.
Because they're ashamed of their arm. Like they can't in their mind they can't show that arm. What do you say?
There's an inner and there's an outer.
Okay.
All right? So think of your body as the clothing you wear.
Right.
The value sits in the inner.
Okay.
So my first thing that I do is literally when I wake up in the morning, I'm grateful that I'm alive. Because 3 years ago, principally, I shouldn't have been. So that's my first thing. I am alive. Life is good. I'm here. I'm healed. And I matter.
Okay.
And I got people to love. And I am loved. And that really becomes the foundation for everything.
Okay.
And it's all about connection. And then the second thing is I connect. I do not disconnect.
Okay.
Because disconnection is the removal of yourself from
the world, society,
and
friends,
the human side,
yes.
and all this emotion and stuff. I do not disconnect. I connect. Even when I'm uncomfortable with it, I get out there and I connect with people. And let me say this: Facebook is not enough for a connection.
Okay.
Okay, so it's different to take your hand and shake your hand and say, it's so lovely to meet you, as opposed to pick up my phone and say, hey, Charles.
Yeah.
Okay?
Because you're not feeling that love. You're not feeling that affection. You're not feeling all that stuff.
And I don't get to contest with who I am and what I am, and you're looking at me.
And I can't tell if you're really lying to me by saying, oh, I'm fine, or looking at your face and go, something's up. What's going on? Let's talk.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So connection. So to me, there's two things that really fuel life. Value, personal value. My value, your value.
Right.
And then the second one, connection.
Okay.
Taking the time to spend time with people that matter. And when I say people that matter, pick them carefully. Some people are not good for you, okay? It's that easy to understand. Some people are good for you, some people are not good for you. Pick the ones that are good for you.
Yeah.
Hang around with them.
Okay.
That simple. And then, for no harm, if we just go into some of the detail of that, basically it's an initiative. You come in through the website, you join in, we put a $10 membership in there, we create a tribe of people, and in that tribe of people, we work with you to connect initially,
right,
and then within that connection to create whatever help that you need, and then also to give a platform for people to do good. One of the things that I said to you right in the beginning is when this event happened, I lost my faith in humanity.
Right.
So if a person took away my faith in humanity, how did I get it back? Another person gave it back. Okay. And this is, I think, what's so important for us to understand is that when people do these acts of compassion, so they sent us the tin of baked beans or whatever it might be. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But when the person comes to your door and they got that tin of baked beans or the cake and the hug that goes with it, it starts to set in force something different.
Okay.
And I had so much support after my event from work, family, friends, community, town, eventually province, that at the end I had to say, this was the event, and this is my faith in people now.
Okay.
So the tribe, the No Harm Tribe, the No Harm Initiative, however you want to call it, is good hearts, doing good, doing it peacefully, and saying, listen, we don't want to hurt anyone. And if we've got a cake to donate that comes along and says, listen, dearie, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
That was good enough versus the psychologist who says, listen, I'm here. If you need the help, I'm here. Or the doctor that says, let me sew you back together. Or the lawyer that says, you know what, let me put the restraining order in play for you. Whatever it might be. All of these things matter. And we simply want, I don't want it's not a charity in that form. I just want a group of people who's saying we are not blindly following the Pied Piper.
Okay.
We found a pub around the corner. It's called No Harm. We have quite a bit of fun in there. And anybody who feels like a different philosophy in life, come this way.
Okay, so before we go, give them some phone numbers, websites, emails,
right, so
everything.
Telephone, 416-723-2223. I'll leave all this with you as well.
Yep, it'll be on there.
My name, Anthea Van Der Pluym. Mouthful, okay, but it's the name of my Facebook. It's the name of my LinkedIn. It's the name of my website. So easiest thing in the world to find if you know how to spell it, and I'm sure they'll put it up for me somewhere.
Yep.
And then you can go onto the website. There's a little page under Anthea's story called No Harm.
Yeah.
Yes, we need your name, your email address, and you click through and you're part of the group. And you go in there.
Right.
And we'd love to see you there. I tend to connect with everybody then by phone. We talk, we meet, we find out who you are, we find out all about you, and from there on we take it and we go forward. So we're looking for the youth, we're looking for the parents, we're looking for educators, we're looking for the media. There's some success stories. We're looking for anybody and everybody that wants to get involved.
Okay.
But only one proviso. You do no harm.
You do no harm.
You do no harm.
Okay. So give them the hashtag one more time.
Hashtag no harm. Capital N, capital O, capital H.
Okay.
No harm, and that's it.
Right.
Come and meet us.
Since you've been doing this now, and I want to make sure that we get this out there. You've talked to people.
Yes.
And how did that make you feel? Like after you've gone through it and you first talked to that first person and that reaction that came back, how did that first reaction make you feel?
If you go onto my Facebook page, you will find reviews on the page. And the thing that affects me the most is when I see how many people are inspired to get on with their own healing and to get on with their own changing of reality, thriving again. That's really, I think, at the bottom line what I'm doing now is I'm going, when these things first happened to me, I couldn't find people who turned it round. But the moment you see one, you've been given permission.
Right.
The how you get there will obviously be different for each person.
Right.
But you now have permission. It's like when we beat the 100 meters under 10 seconds. After that, it was, hey, why can't you do it?
Right,
you know?
right.
It's the same thing. Once it's been done once, it can be done by anyone. And that's really all I'm saying is, A, violence can be stopped. 2, you can fully recover.
Right.
Emotionally, physically, you can go through the whole gamut of it. And you can stand up on the other side and say, I defined this. It didn't define me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, we got 3 minutes left. you're on CMJ Live, and before we go, I want you to do what we call the shout out. So this is your opportunity to shout out anybody you want to shout out. This is like the awards. You know, just take your opportunity and shout out your family, your friends, and everybody that's watching.
Okay, well, my love of my life, Julie, I'm giving her a shout out and saying best thing that ever happened to me. Find somebody that believed in me as much as she did.
Great.
Someone that I can love. All my family back in South Africa and the friends that are watching. I miss you. I miss the whales. Okay, and but I can tell you they do the best baked goods in Canada I've ever had. Pie. I tell you, you do amazing pie. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, it's amazing to see how people react to Canada. It's the pie, it's the weather,
People are wonderful, and yeah, I even like your Toronto subway station. It's cool. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. And before we go, I just wanted to mention this one more time. Give, give, and give. All right, we're doing a marathon, so stay tuned. Right after this, our next shows are coming up back to back, and we actually have a brand new show that we are inserting in this marathon. So please stay tuned and let everybody know that we're on. But here, GoFundMe.com/Carib101. Give, donate. You'll see on our page as well. Grant's been putting out blasts as much as everything, and
come join No Harm.
And come join No Harm. Before we go, if you could tell your little self in life one thing, what would you tell yourself, your little self in life? What would you say?
You have greatness. Never allow yourself to be diminished.
You have greatness. Never allow yourself to be diminished. You hear that, people? So take that quote today. Can we let them take that quote today?
With pleasure. Take it. Take it.
All right.
Make it
we'll
your
be
own.
right back. Thank you so much for watching CMJ Live. You're gonna have a great couple of hours. We'll see you next time.